What's up, Carlos? How you doing today?
Hey, good. Good to see you, Nick.
You too. So what brings you to New York?
Well, two reasons. One is to be here at the FinTech Summit. So it's my first time attending one of these. So far, really impressed with the quality, the networking, and the content. And last night we hosted an event for the free toaster. We did our second ever curated table.
So cool.
Yeah.
What was the event about?
So we were discussing eliminating friction in marketing funnels. So we getting into the nitty gritty of credit card funnels, personal loan funnels, that sort of thing.
And what did you learn? Like the last dinner you had for direct mail marketing, you had a post on really what you learned and what others didn't really see. So like there has to be some things that you learned last night that you...
Yeah, no, it was, for me, the thing I learned most was how opinionated everybody is about these topics. But when you really push into what's behind that opinion, there isn't always the depth of data you would expect. And that's one of the things, having worked with, dozens of lenders and actually back to my Karma days, hundreds of lenders, when you start to build the real sample of like when you do X, Y happens, and you have that pattern recognition, you can really add a lot to that conversation. So in my little corner of the table, we were getting into like data points and really trying to triangulate to impact.
Cool.
Yeah.
And tell me about what you do at NMG. Like how does that apply to what you spend, let's say, half your day on?
Yeah.
And the other day, I hope, is for toaster stuff.
Yeah. So a good chunk of our time at NMG is actually getting into what we talked about last evening at the dinner. So oftentimes a blocker to get lenders to grow. And actually, let me take a step back. What NMG does is we help lenders scale in affiliate channels. So channels like Karma, Experian, NerdWallet, et cetera. And these platforms tend to be very conversion rate sensitive. So they tend to send the best leads and the most leads to the providers that just have a really frictionless, easy funnel. And when we get into diagnosing why certain lenders aren't growing or why they're stuck, application flows are often the culprit.
As you dig deeper into the core problem, you're trying to help these lenders outperform on these marketplaces. Inherently, you have to touch the.
You have to get in there, and it's not a high level conversation. It's a very nitty gritty, tactical conversation. And like, as I'm sure you can appreciate, an application flow has many different trees and nodes. Because if you answer one question a certain way, you're sent down a certain path. If you answer it a different way, you're sent down a totally different path that could collect different data, different information. And there's always that happy path. So we kind of start there, like what's the path that, say, 50% of customers might experience. But once you're off of the happy path, there might be 20 or 30 different flows, and you have to get into every single one of those to do it right. So we spend a lot of time there.
So is that a product problem? Is it an engineering problem?
It's both.
Is it a risk problem? Like, whose problem is that?
It's everybody's problem.
Yeah.
The folks that usually control like the levers, it's usually product and engineering, but it touches credit data. So as soon as you change a question, the credit team may say, oh, well, I needed that question, or it was phrased specifically that way to get a certain response. And if we phrase it differently, now our models aren't calibrated to the answer. There's a lot of feedback loop between conversion rate and risk performance. And that's what makes the conversation, that's part of what makes it so hard.
And do we have a sense of who has, I'm trying to think about the spectrum, who has, and if you don't want any names, that's fine, but the most simplest funnel possible.
Yeah.
Bare bones. I'm not going to say high performing, just least friction, all the way to the other side of the spectrum that has the most friction. Like, do you have a sense of like that spectrum and like, where's the distribution?
Yeah. So I'd anchor any conversation about this to 40%. And that's a number I just keep coming back to, because when you see a high performing funnel, 40% plus is what you're going to observe in the marketplace. So that's from the time the customer clicks on the ad to completing the whole application. Not part of it, but the whole thing. 40% is what the best in class players in the industry are doing. when you start getting to 30s and maybe 20s or even teens, in the 20s and teens, you have really fundamental issues. A few examples I've seen recently: asking the user to create a password, like a login and password, as step one of your application flow. Like I'm dealing actually with that with a lender right now, where they kick off the flow with that cognitive load of, I need you to create a username and a password, and there's certain criteria for the password. Not only is it cognitively demanding, but it also signals to the customer that maybe this isn't a loan application. Maybe they're looking to create an account of a different type, et cetera. Another pattern I've seen a lot recently with the popularity of cash flow underwriting, lenders asking for the plaid link too early in the process.
Yeah.
So the customer's not clear on what the offer is. They're not clear on the terms. They're not clear if they're going to get it. And early on, you're asking them for username and password of a primary bank account. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Coming from a brand you haven't worked with, you don't necessarily know. And that creates up to 40% drop off in the research that we've done.
Is it, help me decompose this a little bit. Is it the number of questions? Is it the questions that they ask? I know you're probably going to say it's all the above, but can you give me just a little more clarity into like of that flow and optimizing? Like, is it the number or is it what you're asking?
Yeah, and I'll use the personal loan funnel as an example, because that's a funnel where there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of verifications along the way. So it's probably one of the most complex funnels we look at. It's actually not so much the number of questions, it's how you sequence them that actually matters. And it's the certainty the customer has along the way that will determine the conversion rate. So as an example, I just came, let's say, from Experian or from Credit Karma. I saw a specific offer, okay? It's a certain loan amount, a certain duration, a certain APR. If you're very clear with me when I'm on the lender side that this is what I'm getting and that I'm pre-approved and that you just need to verify a couple of things, you have a lot more latitude to ask for income statements or for plaid linking, et cetera. But if you're asking for all that information in the context of, I need this to even determine if you're going to get this offer, it completely changes the frame for the customer. And then the abandon rates really take off. So to me, there's an art to how you sequence it all. Obviously, I think you shouldn't be asking for information that isn't mission critical in your underwriting. But the most common mistake I see is wrong sequencing versus asking for too much.
And I can't help but think like, this is not a new problem. But is there anything new about this problem that makes it so interesting now?
It's an age-old problem, probably since the advent of the internet. We've been dealing with, I mean...
For fun, we should try to find one of the oldest loan applications. I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds.
I'd be really curious.
I'm really curious to see what a loan application was, or maybe this is it. Maybe it's conversation, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, but it is evolving, because every year there's like, for example, now there's embedded DocuSign, there's Plaid, there's image recognition to upload. Like you can take a picture of a W-2 and that can be your income verification these days, versus 10 years ago, that would have been really difficult. So I do think as technology matures, these funnels get better and better and better. The interesting thing with large banks is that they tend to be 5 to 10 years behind the technology curve. So a lot of our work is actually just up-leveling the technology stack of the lender.
The sophistication.
To catch up with the existing technology. And
so maybe from your work, it's like, let me educate you on what others are doing, kind of like best in class, which might be a technology side, and let me help you, think through that problem.
Yeah. No, but there's also not just let me educate you on what others are doing, but let me give you context on the ROI of that investment. Because oftentimes the teams I work with are quite aware of their gaps. What they're lacking context is, if I fix this, what do I get from the different platforms? What will I get from Karma? What will I get from Experian? How much more throughput will I get? So like the ROI equation is actually where things often get stuck, because they have this huge backlog of work they want to do, not just for distribution, but for like all parts of their business. And product eng, or, they're competing, really usually have way more to do than they have resources. And then it's just a matter of where does this conversation fall on the stack rank.
But what's unique, I think, is that clearly optimizing the funnel is going to help every channel, but like you can provide hard data on how it's going to help the single channel, the affiliate channel. And you know that so well, you can provide that, and then you can extrapolate that against all the other
That's
channels.
it. Yeah. And what makes the case easier is when lenders do the work we propose for affiliates, it has compounding benefits in social,
100%.
search, direct mail. It's all.
Which you might not be able to quantify as much though, but the affiliate channel, because the way it operates and those nuances there, you actually can.
Like we can dial that into like a pretty narrow band.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
And I think we can do a decent job estimating what it's going to do elsewhere. But I mean, Nick, the numbers are usually like in the tens of millions of dollars plus per year. So you think about an engineer deployed on this for 4 to 8 weeks, the ROI on that investment's like absurd. The question is, where does it fall across the stack of the other things that the organization?
That's a separate question. The whole advent of AI and coding, like it's really a bigger prioritization problem now.
Exactly.
That you can brute force that integration probably. Cool. Well, we recorded this live.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing footsteps, if you're hearing echoing, that's why. This has been fun. Thanks, Carlos.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. I want to take a quick break in the action here. If you want to support the show, the number one thing you can do is go to thefreetoaster.com and sign up for our newsletter. You're going to get a couple pieces per week of news, information, insights, and podcasts like the one you're listening to right now at the intersection of marketing, lending, and technology. That's our niche. We don't plan to go outside of that. It's the only publication I've seen out there on the internet that dials into this zone. So if you want to support us, sign up and share it in your favorite Slack channel. This is a quick plug here for my marketing agency. It's called New Market Growth. We do nothing but help fintech lenders accelerate their growth in affiliate marketing channels. Our services are both strategic and operational. And if you want to learn more about how we can help you, find us at newmarketgrowth.com or email me directly at carlos@newmarketgrowth.com.